Hello everyone and welcome back to the amazing world of video game films. I know that type of movie is hit or miss, but if you're a fan of the brand, sometimes really doesn't matter if the movie's fantastic or not. I know I'm sounding hopeful, but you never know, it might surprise you. Like 2010's Tekken? Here's hoping. Spoiler alert, while I might give you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for watching it yourself. Links to the film are in the description. We start off finding out that the world has torn itself apart thanks to the terror wars, and 8 companies end up dividing what was left of the world. The company that took over America was known as Tekken. Each year, the companies have their greatest warriors fight. 5 days before the tournament, we see Jin running from bad guys that are shooting at him. Watching this chase sequence reminded me that this movie came out right when parkour was the next big thing in films. James Bond even started their rebranded version with Daniel Craig by throwing us into a huge parkour chase scene. This kind of felt like they rented the idea, threw it in a future setting, and threw sick puppies in the soundtrack. I'm not saying it like a bad thing, just really made me remember when this came out. After corporation guys shoot the bad guys, Jin makes his way to a hideout where Bonner tries to recruit him to join the cause to bring down the corporations. Jin explains that he's just there for the money, and Bonner brings his money out. When Jin asks when he'll have another job, Bonner lets him know that he's not sure since the Iron Fist tournament is coming up in a few days. When Jin walks home, Heihachi is on the monitor overlooking the city, and he's expressing how proud he is to host the tournament in Tekken. Jin heads to a local bar and meets up with a man who deals him some fresh underground food. Meanwhile, Heihachi watches as his corporate mongrels prepare for the Iron Fist tournament, and he tells his son, Kazuya, that he's putting him in charge of Tekken during the tournament. Jin heads home to give his mother the food he bought for her. But when she starts talking about how she doesn't want him using his fight training to earn dirty money, he heads out during the curfew. This is when he runs into Kara in an alleyway, and he gives her a piece of chocolate. For a grimy-looking fighting video game movie, this movie has everything so far. Action, drama, romance, and this scene which looks like it would lead to some downright filthy scenes if this was produced by HBO. Just waiting on the fighting scenes now. Elsewhere in the city, Kazuya breaches Bonner's facility with corporate guns, and he shoots Bonner. Soon, Tekken gunmen trace Jin to the theft of their property, and they even infiltrate his mother's place to find out where he is. After she refuses to answer them, they blow up the house with her in it. Jin makes his way into the house after the Tekken men leave, and he finds out that his mother has a Tekken ID card. After he says goodbye to the memory of her, Kara shows up, and Jin swears that Tekken will pay for what they've done. Jin makes his way across town, and he volunteers to try out for the open spot in the Iron Fist tournament. When he gets inside, Jin finds martial law waiting to whoop his butt, but he goes in anyways. Once inside, they lock the gate behind him, and the broadcast starts showing across the town. Once everyone sees that Jin is trying out, they immediately stop to watch him fight. And it doesn't seem like he's going to do too well at first. Jin quickly shows his training when he decides to put Marshall in his place. Do you know how good it feels to watch this fight while some almost classic-sounding fight music plays in the background? I almost expected there to be an announcer like in the games. But sadly that's too much. Either way, I'm definitely feeling like someone behind the camera was definitely a fan of Tekken. As the fight continues, Heihachi watches from his monitor in his office, and Jin is definitely making waves. Towards the end of the round, Jin starts to lose his grip, but after he gets a flashback of his mother training him, he musters enough energy to fight back. He puts the beatdown on martial law and finishes the match with a punch off the cage. As the crowd cheers his name, we meet Steve Fox as he ushers Jin to the bus waiting outside. While Steve mentions that Jin just won the only open slot in the tournament, he offers his services in handling the management and training portions for a percentage of Jin's winnings. Jin talks him down to 20%, and he hops on the bus. As Jin watches the city roll by, he hears his mother's speech about how the world was destroyed by corporations like Tekken. And we flash over to Kazuya, who's getting a nice rub down from 2 of his female friends. When he's done with them, Heihachi comes into his room to ask why he isn't preparing for the tournament. And he makes sure that Kazuya understands how much the tournament decides who has power in the world. How about we don't anger the grouchy, power-hungry, wise Japanese father? If these movies have taught me anything, it's to never underestimate the old man. He'll pull out moves that he learned 2 centuries ago and still not break a sweat. Soon, Jin and Steve come to the Tekken facility, and they head inside to get ready. In Heihachi's office, Kazuya gives him a rundown of the fighters that are in the tournament. First, there's Raven, who's ex-military intelligence. Then there's Eddie Gordo. Anyone that's played Tekken 3 with 2 players just shook their head when they heard this name. Flashbacks of friends spamming the same button over and over definitely popped up. And it was definitely friends. I never did that. Never. Next is Sergey, Anna, Nina, Christy, Miguel, Yoshimitsu, that's another one of those names, and Brian, who's the current Iron Fist champion. While an epic workout montage goes on, Jin gets the rundown of how he needs to present himself. And he gets a new outfit to go with his signature move and look. When Jin gets to the workout room, he's anything but smooth.
The way you spread your toes, it's impressive.
I told you this movie had everything. Smooth Operator here tries to play it off like he was admiring her toes because of his fighting style. But Christy still thinks there's something else behind that comment. Later, the Iron Fist tournament starts, and all of the fighters are introduced to the people during a broadcast spectacle. As the first fighters are chosen, we see that it's Raven versus Eddie. Oh my god, shout out to Lateef Crowder for getting the exact movements and style of Eddie. Eddie's a tough character to portray without making it look completely scripted, but this is actually entertaining to watch. After an exhilarating fight, it actually ends with Raven raising his hand in the end, and Jin sees what the level of competition is. Next, Miguel's set to fight Jin, and Jin gets a nice wish of good luck from Christy. When Steve and Jin head backstage, Steve tells him of a flaw in Miguel's fighting style, and he tells Jin to use it. Once again, Jin starts off with a rocky knockdown, but when he gets back up, he shows that he deserves to be there as he puts Miguel in his place over and over. The crowd starts to cheer him on, and his friends back in the ghetto start to get excited. After a weak moment, Jin rallies once again at the memory of his mother's lessons, and he breaks Miguel's leg when he gets him in a hold, which ultimately leads him to winning the round with some heavy ground and pound. Jin doesn't look like he's going to stop, but Steve calls out to let him know that it's over.
Nice finish. Very entertaining. Out of control.
I like where these quirky interactions between them seem to be going, but if she gets in the way of his revenge, I'll be so mad. She better not take it easy on him though. Soon, Kazuya appears backstage to introduce himself to Jin. Kazuya notices that his fighting style is similar, and Jin assures him that he'll never belong to Tekken. After this terrible conversation, Jin trains harder while seeing the memory of his mother training him. Christy stands on the side and watches him, and she's impressed and nervous about the raw power Jin unleashes. Sure enough, she pops up at his bedroom door later and convinces him to leave for a while with her. That night, Kazuya digs deeper into Jin's past, and he finds out that he killed his mother the other night. Outside the facility, Christy and Jin hit up a local club, and she tries to warn him to be more in control when he fights if he wants to avoid unnecessary trouble. Then she takes him out onto the dance floor, and he gets to see how in control she is. Later, they sneak back into the Tekken facility, and Christy fights the temptation of doing something reckless with Jin. After she leaves, Jin ends up getting jumped by some crazy ninja women while a light flashes that could give anyone seizures. I'm not sure if they're trying to beat him up or make him have a seizure fit. Either way, I'm not sure how well he'll fight tomorrow. Christy hears the beatdown before getting too far away, and she gets back in time to scare off the crazy ninja women. When Steve meets up with them, he finds out who Jin's mother was, and he tells Jin that he knew his mother. She was a Tekken fighter in the Iron Fist tournament that he participated in, and Jin can't believe what he's hearing. Steve and Christy try to convince Jin to go underground now that they know about his heritage, but Jin tells them that he's there to kill Heihachi. Meanwhile, in Kazuya's room, we find out that the crazy ninja women were the same two women he was messing with earlier. He's not too happy to find out that Jin's still alive. The next day, Christy tries to warn Jin to stay where the cameras can see him, and she finds out that she has to fight Nina. Jin also realizes that Nina's one of the crazy ninja women. I don't know how he could figure that out when he was in the middle of that crazy light show when he was getting his butt kicked. Sure enough, after he tells Christy about this, she ends up beating her down. In the back, Kazuya has a talk with Brian about putting Jin down, and he points out that since he's got so many bio-enhancements, he could get banned from Iron Fist if he doesn't do it. As Kazuya goes to leave, he tells his assistant to lock in the matchup for the next fight. The next day, Jin is selected to fight Yoshimitsu, and Steve gives Jin the gift of his old power gloves. Once Heihachi realizes that Kazuya might have set up this matchup, he tells the system to pick a new match. Kazuya isn't too happy about this, and he decides to start his takeover of Tekken now. He tells the system to keep the same fight selection, and the fighters head to the arena.
Jesus.
They actually gave him his katana. I really thought they were going to make him simple so it's a more fair playing field, but no, they stay true to the character. Props for that. Jin steps into the arena and takes his weapon before the round commences. As the fight continues, it becomes clear that Jin's had some training with weapons as well, but the weapons end up getting broken and thrown down eventually anyways. Once it comes down to pure hand-to-hand combat, Yoshimitsu gets the okay nod from Kazuya, and he unleashes a barrage of punches on Jin. Up in the viewing booth, Heihachi finds out the connection between Kazuya and Jin.
You have a son. I had a son.
Damn, that's no Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker reveal, but I didn't really see that coming. I feel like there's a prequel to this that I need to watch and see how all these older characters mash together. Everyone has history, but no one realizes it for most of the movie. Heihachi breaks free of his guards, and he sets off the alarm, which buys Jin enough time to down Yoshimitsu. Once Steve and Christy realize that the guards are coming for Jin, they quickly rush him off the arena floor. Steve spots that they've arrested Heihachi, but they're soon apprehended before they can get too far. Soon, all of the fighters are detained, and Kazuya shows up to announce that the remainder of the fights will be fought to the death. Kazuya leaves all of the fighters in their cage, but when guards come in, they're overrun by fighters. Raven helps Steve, Christy, and Jin to escape, but they stop to interrogate Heihachi first. While they get him out, Raven ends up getting taken down, and Kazuya watches as his father escapes with them. Just come out and tell him already! Tell him that Kazuya is his father and just get this over with. Where do they really think they're going to run and hide? On top of that, how does Jin plan to get back inside to get close to Heihachi now? The tournament was his way in. The group comes to an abandoned warehouse, and Christy helps take care of Jin's wounds. When Heihachi asks to have a moment, he tells Jin that he knew his mother, and they find out a little bit about their own stories. Heihachi finds out how much his company instills fear in the public, and Jin finds out that he's an heir to the Tekken throne. Just then, Tekken soldiers arrive, and Steve's shot to death before the other three are captured. Kazuya appears, and his guards take Heihachi away to be killed. The next day, the tournament continues, and we see Kazuya address the public before the rounds commence. The first round is Sergei versus Brian, and after they're given their weapons, they fight. For a moment, it almost seems like Sergei could win this thing, but Brian's almost bionic body ends up winning in the end. With the blood appearing, I almost thought this was a Mortal Kombat movie now. We'll have to get into that some other time though. Backstage, Kazuya goes to visit Jin, and he gives him the fatherly greeting he's been waiting for. Kazuya tells Jin that he has to fight Brian if he wants to get to him, and he has to fight if he doesn't want Kazuya to do things to Christy. Once alone, Raven comes over to tell Jin that he's not just fighting for himself anymore, he's fighting for all of them. Jin takes this to heart, and he looks back on his journey here while he walks to the arena. Jin faces Brian, and he prepares to fight to the death. When he charges Brian, he gets knocked back so hard that he rethinks his strategy. As they fight, Jin realizes that Brian is essentially a cyborg, and his strikes are essentially doing nothing. Once he notices a weakness in Brian's body, he rallies enough energy to exploit it, and he brings Brian down.
Introduce me! The final match!
Kazuya's such a petulant child here. This is literally like watching Kylo throwing a fit in Star Wars when his plan doesn't work out. Big babies with power are the most annoying villains. Fight to the death! Kazuya beats Jin down, but Jin's lust for vengeance is too strong to keep down. Upstairs, Christy causes enough of a commotion that she distracts Kazuya, and Jin takes this chance to disarm Kazuya. When it comes time for him to end him, he proves that he's different from him and he spares his life. Christy makes it to the arena in time to raise Jin's arm in victory as the people's champion. Jin ends up leaving the Tekken facility, and he's given a champion salute by Tekken guards on his way to the street. Jin goes back to his hometown, and he uses his win to inspire those in the slums. And the credits roll. For a video game movie, there are a lot worse out there. This actually isn't that bad if you ask me. I enjoyed every bit of it. The pacing was spot on for a fighting movie, and it just kept one-upping itself. It was hot, heavy, and definitely for the fans. Give it a shot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.